The battlefield was quiet now, but it was not a peaceful quiet. It was the silence that came after chaos. Smoke rose from broken machines, and the smell of burning metal filled the air. Shattered helmets, broken weapons, and pieces of armor lay across the ruined land. The war had passed through this place like a storm, and nothing was alive, or so it seemed. A lone human soldier moved slowly through the ruins. His uniform was torn, his arm wrapped in dirty bandages, and his face covered with dust. He had been fighting for 3 days without proper food or rest. Now he was cut off from his unit. He had not heard a human voice since the night before. Every step he took made a soft crunch on broken glass and ash. The soldier's name was Captain Ryan Hale, but in that moment he was not thinking about rank or duty. He was only thinking about survival. Ryan kept his rifle close, his finger resting on the trigger. The silence made him uneasy. He knew the enemy could be hiding in the shadows. His eyes moved left and right. Searching between the ruined buildings, the sun was setting, and the long shadows made the ruins look like the bones of giants. Each shadow seemed alive. Each sound of shifting rubble made his heart beat faster. He stopped near a fallen wall and crouched behind it. From here, he could see the remains of a massive battle walker lying on its side, its once bright armor now black with burn marks. He remembered how the alien war machines had walked across the battlefield earlier that day. They were tall, taller than houses, and their weapons could cut through human tanks like paper. But now even those machines lay broken. The war had taken everything. Ryan tried to listen. At first there was nothing but the faint crackle of fire. Then he heard it, a sound that did not belong to the ruins, a heavy thud, slow and steady, like footsteps, not human footsteps, too heavy, too deep. The ground itself seemed to respond to each step. Ryan froze, his grip tightened on his rifle. He pressed his back against the wall and closed his eyes for a second. His mind raced. Was it another war machine? Was it one of the giant alien soldiers? If so, he was already dead. The sound grew closer, step by step. The vibration reached through the rubble. Ryan's breath slowed, and he forced himself to stay calm. He leaned forward just enough to peek over the edge of the wall. Through the smoke and fading light, he saw it. A giant figure moving between the ruins. It was tall, far taller than any human, with broad shoulders and arms like tree trunks. Its skin was not skin at all, but a strange dark armor that looked alive. In one hand it carried a weapon larger than Ryan himself, but the weapon dragged against the ground. Leaving a trail, the creature's steps were heavy, but its movement was slow, unsteady. Ryan realized it was hurt. The alien stopped, turned its head, and for a moment Ryan thought its glowing eyes looked directly at him. His heart pounded so loudly he was sure it could hear. He pulled his rifle close and aimed. One shot, he thought, one clean shot to the head, but his finger would not move. Something held him back. This was the enemy, yes, but this was also a living being. It did not look like a monster ready to kill. It looked like a warrior on the edge of death. The alien staggered forward, then fell to one knee. Its weapon clattered against the stone with a deep growl. It pressed its massive hand against a wound on its chest. Dark blood oozed through the cracks of its armor. The sound was not of rage, but of pain. Ryan watched, torn between fear and something else he could not name. The silence of the battlefield seemed even heavier now. A human soldier and a giant alien, both survivors of the same war, both broken in body and spirit. Ryan could stay hidden and wait for the alien to bleed out, or he could step out and face whatever came next. His heart told him to hide, but his mind whispered something different. Perhaps this silence was not the end. Perhaps it was the beginning of something unexpected. Ryan shifted his position, slowly rising from behind the wall. His rifle was still in his hands. His eyes locked on the alien, one step forward, his boot pressing softly into the ash. The alien's head turned again, its glowing eyes meeting his across the distance. Neither spoke, neither moved, but in that moment, the silence of the battlefield was no longer empty. It was full of tension, full of the unknown, full of something that could change everything. The alien's glowing eyes stayed fixed on the human soldier. Neither moved, neither spoke. Yet the air between them was alive with danger. Ryan's finger rested on the trigger of his rifle, his muscles tight as stone. The alien shifted slightly, letting out a low growl that echoed across the ruins. The sound made Ryan's skin crawl, but it was not the roar of a predator. It was the sound of something in pain. The creature tried to stand, but its massive body trembled. It leaned against a broken column, its breaths deep and heavy. Ryan could see dark blood seeping through the cracks in its armor. Dripping onto the dust, every instinct screamed at him to fire, to end the threat before it became too strong. But another part of him hesitated. He had seen monsters on the battlefield. This one was different. This one looked vulnerable. Ryan crouched lower, still hidden enough to avoid a direct shot. His mind worked fast. If he attacked now, maybe he would survive, but if he made a sound, the alien could crush him in seconds. The silence pressed on his chest like a weight. Finally, the soldier whispered to himself, "Wait. Just wait." The alien suddenly moved. Reaching for its fallen weapon, Ryan tensed, ready to shoot. But the massive hand shook too much. The weapon slipped again, crashing to the ground with a hollow clang. The sound echoed through the ruins. Ryan froze, worried other enemies might hear. The alien let out a low groan, almost human in its tone. For the first time, Ryan wondered if this creature felt fear too. He shifted position, stepping carefully around the rubble to get a better view. The alien's chest rose and fell like a drumbeat, each breath ragged and uneven. Its armor looked strange up close, black metal fused with flesh, like it was part of its body. The wound across its chest glowed faintly. Pulsing like fire beneath the skin, Ryan stared, realizing this was no ordinary injury. The alien was dying slowly, its strength fading with every breath. Ryan took another cautious step. The alien's head snapped toward him, for a heartbeat. Their eyes locked again. Blue light against human determination. Ryan lifted his rifle, aiming straight at the creature's head. But the alien did not raise its hands, it did not attack, it simply stared, as though waiting to see what the human would decide. The silence broke with a sound, another noise. Not from them, metal scraping against stone. Faint but close, Ryan's heart stopped. Enemy drones. He had heard that sound before. The spider-like machines used by the alien army to sweep ruins. If they found him, he was dead. If they found the alien, it too would be finished. Ryan pressed himself against the wall, eyes darting. He glanced at the alien. It had heard the noise as well. Its head turned slowly toward the direction of the sound. Then, to Ryan's shock, it shifted its massive hand and pressed one finger to its mouth. A universal gesture for silence. Ryan blinked, stunned. Did the creature understand human signals, or had it simply learned through war? The scraping sound grew louder. Ryan's pulse hammered. The alien stayed perfectly still, its massive frame tense, its glowing eyes fixed on the shadows. For one strange moment they were united, not as enemies, but as prey hunted by the same danger. Ryan held his breath, counting each second in his head. 1, 2, 3. The scraping faded, drifting farther into the ruins. The drones had passed. The soldier slowly let out a breath. The alien, too, relaxed its shoulders, though its body still shook from its wound. They looked at each other again, and for the first time, Ryan saw something new in its eyes. Not rage, not hunger for blood, but exhaustion, pain, and maybe even a strange kind of respect. Ryan lowered his rifle slightly, though not all the way. The alien tilted its head, making a low rumbling sound. It almost sounded like a question. Ryan did not answer, but he didn't fire either. The decision surprised even him. He had been taught to see these creatures as monsters. But standing here in the silence of the ruins, he realized it was not so simple. The alien tried to stand again, but its strength failed. It dropped to one knee, both hands pressing into the dirt to keep from falling. A sudden wave of dizziness struck it, and it nearly collapsed. Ryan stepped forward before he could stop himself. The alien noticed the movement, its glowing eyes narrowing. But Ryan did not raise his weapon. Instead, he whispered under his breath, "You're dying, aren't you?" The alien's chest rumbled, a sound like thunder in the distance. Maybe it was an answer, maybe not. Ryan did not know, but he felt something shift inside him in that moment. The war had been about sides, about humans and aliens, but here, right now, it was just two beings left alive in the ruins of battle. The silence stretched again, heavy and endless. Ryan realized he could end this with one bullet, or he could wait. See what came next. His finger hovered on the trigger, but for the second time that day, he did not pull it. The alien's glowing eyes blinked once, slow and deliberate. Then its massive body leaned back against the broken wall, its breathing deep, heavy, almost calm. Ryan stayed where he was, rifle lowered but ready. The battlefield was silent again, but no longer empty. Something had begun here, something neither of them could yet understand. The ruins were still, but Ryan felt the silence had changed. It was no longer just the quiet of broken machines and dead soldiers. It was the quiet of a decision waiting to be made. He stood there, rifle ready. Staring at the wounded alien, the creature breathed heavily, its chest rising and falling like a slow drum. Every breath was a reminder that it was still alive. Ryan's mind spun. This was the enemy, the same kind that had killed his friends only hours ago. Yet here it was, bleeding, struggling. No longer the monster he had imagined. He had a choice. Leave it to die, or do something unthinkable, help it. He crouched slowly, pulling his small field kit from his belt. Inside were bandages, coagulant spray, and a few medical tools. They were made for humans, not aliens, but Ryan's hands moved anyway. Something deep inside told him this was the right thing. Not for the war, not for humanity, but for survival. If he left the alien, it might die. If he helped, maybe something else would happen. He moved closer, each step cautious. The alien's glowing eyes followed him. Sharp and alert despite its weakness, Ryan raised one hand slowly, showing the kit. His voice was low, almost a whisper. "I'm not going to shoot you." "Not yet." The alien rumbled in its chest, a deep vibrating sound. Ryan couldn't tell if it was a warning or an answer. But the creature didn't attack. It stayed where it was, watching, waiting. Ryan knelt beside the giant, close enough to smell the strange metallic scent of its blood. The wound across its chest pulsed faintly. Like fire beneath its armor, he reached out, hand steady though his heart raced. The alien's huge hand twitched, claws curling slightly. Ryan froze, waiting. Then slowly, the alien lowered its hand, giving him space. That small movement was the first step. A signal of trust, fragile and dangerous. Ryan sprayed coagulant across the wound. The chemical hissed as it touched the glowing flesh. The alien growled, jerking in pain. Ryan pulled back quickly, rifle within reach. But the alien did not strike. It simply endured, staring at him with sharp, glowing eyes. Ryan muttered, "Easy, easy." "I know it burns." He pressed a bandage over the wound, wrapping it as best he could around the creature's massive chest. His hands shook not from fear, but from the weight of what he was doing, helping the enemy, breaking every rule of war he had been taught. When he finished, he sat back on his heels, sweat dripping from his forehead. The alien touched the bandage with one large claw, pressing it gently as if testing. Then it let out a low sound, softer this time, almost like a hum. Ryan stared, realizing it might be a word in its language, a word he could not understand. But the tone felt less like a threat and more like gratitude. The silence between them grew different again, not heavy with danger, but strange and uncertain. Two soldiers from opposite sides of the war sitting together in the ruins. Ryan lowered his rifle completely now, resting it against his knee. The alien watched, then set aside its giant weapon as well. The sound of metal against stone echoed like a promise. They stayed like that for a long moment. Neither moved, neither attacked. The battlefield around them was nothing but broken walls and rising smoke. Yet inside this small space, something new had been born. Not friendship, not yet, but trust. Thin, delicate, ready to break at the smallest wrong step. Ryan broke a piece of dried ration from his pocket. He chewed slowly, then held out another piece. The alien tilted its head. Confused, Ryan placed the food on a flat piece of rubble and pushed it closer. The alien sniffed, then picked it up between two massive claws. It studied the small object like it was some strange weapon. Then slowly it placed it into its mouth. The crunch echoed softly, its glowing eyes blinked once. Then it gave a low sound, less growl, more approval. Ryan almost laughed at the absurdity. Here he was, feeding an alien like some wild animal. But deep inside he felt something shift again. This wasn't about human or alien anymore. It was about survival together. The alien reached down suddenly, and Ryan tensed, but instead of attacking, it scratched a line in the dirt with its claw, then another line crossing it. Forming a crude shape, it pointed at the shape. Then at itself. Ryan blinked. Was it trying to tell him something? He picked up a shard of stone and drew a circle. Then he tapped his chest. "Ryan." The alien's glowing eyes followed the motion. It tapped the crude shape it had drawn and made a deep sound. Ryan couldn't understand the word, but he knew what it meant. It was its name. The silence of the battlefield had turned into something else now. A place where two enemies had taken the first step toward understanding. It was not peace, not yet, but it was enough to keep them both alive for another day. Ryan leaned back against the broken wall, exhaustion pulling at him. The alien shifted too, leaning carefully on its side, protecting its wound. For the first time since the battle began, Ryan felt something he hadn't expected. Not fear, not anger, but the smallest flicker of hope. And in that silence, with two broken soldiers sitting side by side in the ruins of war, the first fragile bond began to form. The night settled over the ruins. The fires that once lit the battlefield were fading, leaving only weak orange glows in the distance. Ryan sat with his back against a broken wall, his rifle within reach beside him. The giant alien rested, its breathing deep and uneven. The silence between them was no longer the silence of enemies. It was the silence of two beings who did not know what to do next. Ryan's eyes stayed on the alien, studying every movement. The bandage on its chest glowed faintly where the strange wound pulsed. The creature's eyes opened now and then, glowing softly in the dark. Whenever they met Ryan's gaze, he felt both fear and curiosity. He thought about the shape it had drawn in the dirt earlier. Its name, whatever it meant, was still in his mind, and he remembered the sound it made, low and heavy. He repeated it in his head, though his tongue could not form it right. The alien stirred, shifting its massive frame. It reached out with one claw and scratched again in the dirt. Ryan leaned closer, rifle still close, ready if things changed. The creature drew another symbol, curved, sharp, nothing like human letters. It pointed at itself, then tapped the symbol again. Ryan understood. It was repeating its name. Making sure he knew, Ryan nodded slowly, pressing his hand against his chest. "Ryan," he said. The alien tilted its head, then made a sound, rough, broken, like grinding stone. It was trying to copy Yan. Ryan froze, breath catching. It wasn't perfect, but the sound was close enough. The alien had tried to speak his name, he whispered back. "Yes." "Ryan," the alien rumbled in its chest. Not a growl, but something softer, almost approving, encouraged. Ryan picked up a piece of stone and drew a circle in the dirt. He pointed upward to the night sky, the stars barely visible through smoke. Then he tapped the circle, moon. The alien stared, then let out a low sound, repeating the word badly, "Moo." Ryan chuckled despite himself. The alien then drew its own strange mark next to the circle. It pointed upward, then to its drawing. Its own word for the same object. Ryan nodded, repeating the alien's sound as best he could. The creature blinked, watching him carefully for the first time. They were exchanging more than gestures. They were building a bridge. The ruins were silent except for the scratching of stone on dirt and the low sounds they traded. Ryan taught simple words: water, food, fire. Each time he pointed, Drew then spoke slowly. The alien responded with its own sounds, rough but steady. Sometimes it copied his words. Sometimes it gave its own, the two voices. One human and one alien, filled the night with a strange rhythm. It was clumsy, broken, but it was communication. Hours passed, though neither counted the time. The firelight flickered across the dirt symbols until the ground looked like a strange map. Ryan noticed something then. When the alien drew, its hands shook, its strength was fading. He reached for his canteen and placed it on the ground between them. The alien stared at it, then looked at Ryan. Ryan pushed it closer, nodding. "Water!" The alien lifted the canteen carefully, claws clumsy around the small object. It drank awkwardly, spilling some, then set it down with a heavy thud. It let out a deep sound, one Ryan had learned to recognize. Not threat, not warning, but gratitude. Ryan leaned back, exhaustion catching up to him. His body ached, his wound still burned, but his mind was alert, sharper than it had been all day. He realized something strange. He no longer saw the alien only as the enemy. He saw it as alive, thinking, capable of more than violence. The war had painted them as monsters, but here, face to face, the truth was different. They were soldiers. Both trapped, both broken, both fighting for survival. A sound broke the fragile calm, distant, mechanical, echoing through the ruins. Ryan tensed, hand on his rifle. The alien lifted its head, glowing eyes narrowing. The sound grew louder, metallic wings beating the air, recon drones sweeping the area again. Ryan cursed under his breath. He glanced at the alien. It was too big, too loud. They couldn't outrun detection together. The alien looked at him, then drew quickly in the dirt. 2 lines. Then a circle below them. It pointed toward the ruins. Then at Ryan, it wanted him to hide. Ryan shook his head, whispering, "If they find you, they'll kill us both." The alien growled low, frustrated, but Ryan didn't move. He crouched lower, eyes scanning the shadows. The drone passed overhead, red lights cutting across the rubble. Ryan pressed against the wall, holding his breath. The alien, despite its size, stayed completely still. The light swept across them, lingered for one terrifying second, then drifted away. The sound faded into the distance. Ryan let out his breath slowly. His chest tight, he looked at the alien again. Its glowing eyes met his. In that look was something unspoken, not just trust, but a recognition. They were both prey now. Hunted by the same enemy, the night stretched on, and Ryan felt the weight of exhaustion pulling at his eyes. He wanted to sleep, but sleep meant danger. The alien shifted again, pressing its back to the wall beside him. It lowered its head, eyes dimming. Ryan watched for a moment, then leaned back as well. Rifle across his lap, the silence returned. But this time it was not empty. It was full of the strange sounds and symbols they had shared. It was full of the fragile bond growing stronger with each moment. And as the stars burned faintly above the battlefield, a human soldier and a giant alien sat side by side. Two enemies who had begun to speak, not with perfect words, but with something more powerful, understanding. The ruins lay under a cold morning light. The sky was pale, the smoke drifting away, leaving the broken city open to the sun. Ryan stretched his sore muscles, wincing as pain shot through his side. Beside him, the alien shifted slowly, pressing its huge hand against the wound in its chest. It was still alive, weaker but alive. For a moment, Ryan wondered if this was a mistake. Helping the creature sitting beside it, even sharing food. What if it turned on him later? But before he could finish the thought, a sound cut through the morning air. A mechanical hum, low and sharp. Ryan froze, his hand snapping to his rifle. The alien raised its head, glowing eyes narrowing. The sound grew louder. Echoing between the ruins, this was not one drone, but many. The enemy was sweeping the battlefield, searching for survivors. Ryan's blood turned cold. If they found him, he was finished. If they found the alien, it was finished too. The alien drew a symbol quickly in the dirt, 3 sharp lines. Then a circle Ryan remembered from the night before. It was warning him. 3 meant many, the circle meant danger. Ryan nodded, whispering, "I know." The humming grew into a swarm. Then Ryan saw them. 6 spider-like drones climbing over the rubble. Their red lights scanned the ruins, their weapons clicking as they searched. Ryan ducked behind the wall, heart pounding. The alien leaned closer to the ground, its huge frame trying to shrink, but it was too big, too visible. The drones would see it in seconds. Ryan clenched his jaw. He could run, escape deeper into the ruins, leave the alien behind, but if he ran, the drones would follow and they would both die. The alien turned its head toward him, glowing eyes steady for the first time. Ryan understood the look. It wasn't asking for help, it was asking if they would fight together. Ryan's pulse hammered, but he nodded. He whispered, "We fight." The alien growled low, a sound like thunder rolling across the ruins. It reached for its massive weapon lying nearby, its claws wrapped around the handle. Lifting with effort, Ryan raised his rifle. Checking the magazine, half full, not much, but enough. The first drone spotted movement and screeched. Red lights flashing. In seconds, the others turned. Weapons aiming. Ryan opened fire, the sharp crack of his rifle breaking the silence. His shots tore through one drone. Sparks flying as it collapsed, the alien roared, standing despite its wound. With a single swing of its giant weapon, it smashed another drone into the rubble. The swarm rushed forward, metal legs scraping against stone. Ryan rolled behind cover, firing bursts to slow them. The alien charged, its strikes heavy and brutal. Each blow shattered machines, sending parts flying, but the drones kept coming. Climbing over their fallen, relentless, Ryan's rifle clicked empty. "Damn it," he muttered, fumbling to reload. One drone leapt over the wall, red eyes glowing, claws snapping. Ryan raised his knife in panic, but before he could strike, the alien's massive hand shot out. It crushed the drone in its grip, metal crunching like paper. It tossed the broken machine aside. Growling low, Ryan stared for a second, then shouted, "Thanks!" Though he knew the alien didn't understand the word. The battle raged on. Ryan's bullets and the alien's strength cut the swarm down one by one. Sparks lit the ruins, the smell of burning circuits filling the air. At last, the final drone screeched, trying to retreat. Ryan and the alien moved at the same time. Ryan's shot hit its eye. The alien's swing finished it. The drone shattered against the wall. Silence returning, Ryan leaned against the rubble, Chest heaving, his ears rang, his arms shook, but he was alive. The alien staggered, dropping its weapon. Breathing hard, it looked at Ryan, glowing eyes steady. For a long moment, they simply stared. Not enemies, not strangers, but survivors who had fought side by side. Ryan broke the silence first, whispering, "We did it." The alien tilted its head, then made a low rumble. It wasn't a growl this time. It was something closer to agreement. Ryan sat heavily on the ground, wiping sweat and dust from his face. He looked at the alien, massive and strange, yet no longer terrifying. Something had changed in the battle. They weren't just sharing food or words now. They had shared blood, danger, and victory. That kind of bond was stronger than orders. Stronger than fear, the battlefield lay quiet again. But Ryan knew it wouldn't last. The enemy would send more drones, maybe even soldiers. He looked at the alien and then at the ruins around them. If they wanted to survive, they couldn't stay here. He pointed toward the collapsed buildings in the distance. "Hide," he said, making a covering gesture with his hands. The alien watched, then nodded slowly. It scratched a quick mark in the dirt, a jagged line leading down. Ryan frowned, then realized it was showing him a path underground. He stared at the alien, surprised again. Not only could it fight, not only could it understand, it also knew the ruins better than he did. Maybe it had a way out, a way to escape the sweep of enemy machines. Ryan met its eyes, then nodded firmly. "Together," he said, tapping his chest and pointing at it. The alien rumbled low, then tapped its chest in return. "Together." The morning light spilled across the ruins. Two enemies, no longer enemies, stood side by side. The war outside still raged. But here in the broken city, something new had been born. Not peace, not yet, but a bond stronger than fear, a bond forged in battle. The ruins had fallen quiet again, but Ryan knew it would not last. The wreckage of the drones smoked around him, their twisted metal bodies giving off the smell of burning circuits. He checked his rifle. Only a few bullets left, not enough for another fight. His hands shook, but not from fear this time. It was from something stranger. He had fought side by side with a giant alien, and somehow they had survived together. The alien leaned heavily on the broken wall, its chest wound glowing faintly under the bandage Ryan had wrapped. Its breathing was rough, but its eyes were still sharp. When those glowing eyes turned toward him, Ryan felt no hatred, only the same exhaustion he carried in his own bones. For a long moment, they just looked at each other. No words, no symbols, no sounds, but the meaning was clear. If another fight came, they would stand together again. The silence broke with a sound Ryan dreaded, a metallic roar in the distance, deeper and heavier than drones. He peeked over the rubble and felt his stomach drop. A massive war beast, part machine and part alien flesh, crawled across the battlefield. Its body was armored, its claws sharp, and cannons mounted on its back glowed with dangerous light. Behind it came soldiers, tall and armored like the alien beside him. But these were strong, uninjured, ready to kill. Ryan's throat went dry. He whispered, "We can't fight them." The alien turned its head slowly. Eyes narrowing, it growled deep in its chest, shaking the ground, not fear, determination. Ryan shook his head. "You're crazy," but he knew there was no choice. Running meant death, hiding meant discovery, fighting was all that remained. The alien reached for its massive weapon. Lifting it with both hands, its body trembled from weakness. But it stood tall. Ryan loaded his last magazine, checked his knife and nodded. They moved together, slipping through the shadows of the ruins. The enemy soldiers spread out, scanning the rubble. The war beast's eyes glowed as it sniffed the air, searching Ryan, and the alien struck first. The alien let out a roar that shook the ruins. Charging forward, its weapon came down like a hammer, crushing one soldier instantly. Ryan fired from cover, his bullets piercing weak points in the soldier's armor. Two fell, sparks flying as their suits collapsed. The war beast roared and fired its cannons. The ground exploded, stone and fire flying everywhere. Ryan dove behind cover, ears ringing. The alien staggered but kept moving, swinging its weapon again and again. The battlefield became chaos once more. Ryan sprinted low, sliding into a broken tunnel for cover. One soldier spotted him and raised a weapon. Ryan fired first, dropping the soldier. But another closed in, claws reaching for him. Ryan pulled his knife, ready to fight up close. But the alien appeared in a blur of strength. It smashed the attacker into the wall, the sound of cracking armor echoing loud. Ryan blinked, shocked, then shouted, "Thanks," though he knew the alien didn't understand. Still, the creature gave a low rumble, almost like an answer. They fought as one. Ryan darted in and out of cover, firing with precision. The alien drew enemy attention, using its size and strength to break their lines. Whenever one faltered, the other covered. They were no longer two soldiers from different worlds. They were a team, the war beast roared again. Its cannons charging, Ryan shouted, "Down!" even though he knew the alien wouldn't understand the word. But the creature seemed to feel the warning. It dove aside just as the ground where it stood exploded in fire. The blast knocked Ryan flat, dust filling his lungs. He coughed, vision blurry through the smoke. He saw the alien dragging itself back to its feet. Weapon in hand, it roared and charged the war beast directly. Ryan scrambled up, firing at the cannons. His bullet sparked against the armor but managed to disable one. The alien leapt onto the beast, swinging with both hands, metal cracked, flesh tore. The creature shrieked, thrashing violently. Ryan emptied his rifle into its exposed parts finally. The alien drove its weapon deep into the beast's glowing chest. A flash of light erupted, the monster collapsing in a heap of smoke and fire. Silence returned, broken only by heavy breathing. Ryan stumbled forward, coughing, dropping his empty rifle. The alien stood over the fallen war beast, its body trembling, but its weapon still firm in its grip. They looked at each other again, and in that moment, Ryan realized something shocking. He trusted it. Fully, not just because it saved his life, not just because they fought together, but because in the fire of battle, he had seen its heart. This alien was like him. A soldier, a survivor. A fighter who refused to die, Ryan whispered. Side by side, tapping his chest and pointing to it. The alien tapped its chest in return, then growled low. Not a threat, not a warning, but agreement. The ruins burned around them. But Ryan no longer felt alone. For the first time since the war began, he had an ally. Not human, not familiar, but real, and together, they had proven something terrifying and powerful. When they fought side by side, nothing could stop them. The battlefield was quiet again, but the silence did not feel safe. Smoke curled from the broken body of the war beast. The smell of burning metal thick in the air. Ryan leaned against a cracked wall, his chest heaving, his rifle empty beside him. The alien stood tall but unsteady, its weapon dragging against the stone. They had survived another fight. But Ryan knew the truth. They could not survive the next one. Not here. Not out in the open. Ryan wiped the sweat and dust from his face. Looking around the ruins, more drones would come, maybe even more soldiers, and when they did, he and the alien would not have the strength to fight. His mind searched for a way out. The alien seemed to be thinking the same, its glowing eyes scanning the broken city. Then slowly it crouched and drew in the dirt again. A jagged line, then another leading downward, ending in a circle. Ryan frowned, kneeling closer. The alien pointed to the drawing. Then to the ground beneath them, underground. Ryan's eyes widened. Underground tunnels, he whispered. It made sense. Before the battle, the city must have had sewers, bunkers, escape paths. The alien rumbled low, confirming what Ryan guessed. For the first time, Ryan felt a flicker of hope. If they could reach the tunnels, they could escape the sweep of machines above. But finding a way in was the hard part. The ruins stretched for miles, and danger lurked in every shadow. Ryan pushed himself to his feet. Groaning from pain, he tapped his chest, then pointed forward. Let's go. The alien tilted its head, then nodded. Together, they began moving. The city felt alive with danger. Every step crunched on broken glass. Every gust of wind carried ash. Ryan stayed low. Scanning the rooftops for drones, the alien walked beside him, slower from its wound, but steady. Its massive form could not hide well, but it moved carefully each time Ryan stopped. The alien stopped. Step by step, they crept through the ruins. They reached a collapsed building where the ground had caved in. A jagged hole yawned open, leading into darkness. Ryan peered down, the smell of damp stone and rust rising up. This had to be the tunnel system, but it was deep, and the drop looked dangerous. Ryan looked at the alien, then back at the hole. "How the hell do we get down there?" he muttered. The alien answered without words. It crouched, motioning to Ryan with one huge hand. Ryan blinked, realizing what it meant. "You want to carry me?" The alien rumbled low, impatient. Ryan hesitated, then sighed. "All right, but if you drop me, we're both dead." He climbed carefully onto the alien's arm. Gripping tightly, the creature lifted him with surprising gentleness. Lowering both of them into the hole, the darkness swallowed them, the light from above shrinking to a small circle. Their feet hit damp stone with a splash. The air was thick, heavy with mold and old dust. Ryan switched on the small light on his helmet. The tunnel stretched ahead, endless and silent. Broken pipes lined the walls, water dripping into the dark. He glanced at the alien. Its glowing eyes lit the tunnel like twin lanterns. Together they began moving forward. The silence was eerie. Every sound echoed. Ryan's boots splashing in puddles. The alien's heavy steps shaking the ground. But beneath the noise, Ryan felt something else. They were safer here. Hidden from the machines above, the war raged on the surface. But down here it was only the two of them. Still, the danger was not gone. The tunnels were unstable. Walls cracked from the battle above. At one point, a section collapsed ahead. Dust filling the air, Ryan coughed, waving his hand. The alien moved quickly, using its strength to push aside heavy debris. It cleared a path where Ryan could not. For every weakness the human had, the alien filled it. And for every blind spot the alien had, Ryan guided with his smaller steps and sharper eyes. Together they made progress after what felt like hours. They reached a large chamber. Old metal doors lined the walls, broken signs hanging from rusted chains. Ryan realized it had once been a shelter, maybe for civilians. He brushed dust from one of the signs, half the letters gone. The alien studied the walls too. Its claws tracing old marks, it seemed to recognize something. Its chest rumbling with memory, Ryan sat down heavily. Catching his breath, his body ached. His wounds screamed. He glanced at the alien, who lowered itself against the wall. For a moment, neither moved. They were safe, for now. Ryan reached into his pack and pulled out the last of his rations. He broke it in half, sliding the smaller piece toward the alien. The creature stared, then picked it up carefully. It chewed slowly, its glowing eyes fixed on him. Ryan smirked weakly. "Guess that means you're stuck with me," the alien rumbled, low but steady. It wasn't a laugh, but it was close enough. The chamber fell silent again, but it was no longer the silence of fear. It was the silence of planning, of survival. Above them, the war continued. But here, deep underground, a soldier and an alien sat together, enemies no longer. Partners bound by the same goal, escape. Ryan leaned back, eyes closing for a moment. Tomorrow, they would face new dangers, but tonight they had a plan. And for the first time since the battle began, Ryan believed he might actually live to see another dawn.